at nature for me.
Right, doing great.
I may be doing great, but I'm like, step.
Okay.
Hello. Okay, good meeting. Hi, how are you? Hello. Someone's gotta be a Miss Myers here.
That'd be me,
How are you? I'm Steve. We spoke on the phone.
Steve.
Pleasure to be here.
Spot for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everybody.
Teresa.
Teresa, how are you? Steve Ken. How are you? Steve Ken.
Hi.
Pleasure, Steve Ken. Thank you.
So we haven't. Hi, everybody on Zoom. We haven't quite started the meeting, although
Oh,
we're getting. No, that's okay.
We haven't started yet.
We haven't started. Well, we've started in the sense the Zoom is going and the recording is going. We haven't-
We're also
Also
streaming live on YouTube.
Okay. The question is, should we start the meeting or should we wait a couple minutes? 7:00. Yeah, so we're gonna wait like 2-3 minutes and then officially start the meeting. And since we have people here who are new, I do want to remind's not the right word, mention that we are recording this meeting on YouTube and on Zoom. And there's a funny little AI person in the computer who's taking notes for us.
Have you been to our meeting before, Steve?
United
Name.
first.
Who's representing our applicant.
Yeah,
Oh, Century Liquor. Oh, you're with.
yeah, I'm with Central.
Oh, okay.
So for those of us who are new to this, I will have a hard time remembering what I'm telling you. There's the meeting. This is not the meeting. Although I will keep to. I forget, but we're addressing ourselves, but we're also addressing anybody else. So. Okay. One more minute and I'm gonna officially start the meeting.
Very casual.
Well.
Other neighbor councils are like.
Casual, but we're very formal in the planning and land use. Yeah, we're very formal.
So this is our land use committee. So when we do the governing board, it's more or less the same system, but it's in a much larger room.
Gotcha.
So the owl, different. Owl.
Yeah.
And it shows more multiple views.
Fantastic.
So since we have some housekeeping, so many people in the room, since we're being transcribed, the AI will only say UNNC, so you should say LB. Then the transcription will also say. Okay, I am gonna officially call this meeting to order. My name is Laura Myers and I am the co-chair of UNNC's Planning and Zoning Committee. And what I'd like to do is share the screen with our agenda and also go through introductions and some other, let's say, light housekeeping. So let me know if you all can see the agenda up on the screen.
Yes, I can see the agenda.
Thank you so much. So welcome. And I'm calling a call to order. And then the next item within number 1 is review of the UNNC standing rules for committee stakeholder voting participation. So essentially UNNC may be a little different than other neighborhood councils. We have a robust set of committees. We appoint chairs of the committees. And then those who are in attendance at a particular committee meeting are considered members of the committee for that evening. So anybody who is a bona fide stakeholder may make a motion, vote, can obviously, everyone can, no matter what, can participate in the conversation. So what is a stakeholder? It's somebody who lives, works, owns property, worships, has a child in school, or is a participating member of a 501c3 nonprofit with an address within our boundaries. So those are the broad definitions of stakeholders. So as you introduce yourself tonight, because we're going to go around and everyone will introduce, after we scroll right through this agenda, you'll also say, you know, my name is, and I live blah, 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 or whatever makes you a stakeholder if you are. So after we do all of that, we will also have general public comments on any items not on tonight's agenda. And then we have item 3 is a case involving Century Liquor. Item 4 is the update regarding the Mills Act Historical Properties Contract Program. Item 5 is follow-up to previous cases or things that have appeared in the early notification system notifications. And any old business, and then adjourn. So I'm gonna stop the share and start the introduction. So again, I'm Laura Myers. I'm the vice president of UNNC and, like I said, co-chair of this committee. I live in Angeles Vista, so that makes me a stakeholder. I will turn to Mr. Just Cousin.
Sure. My name is Steve Camp, GST Partners, here representing the Century Liquor. I had the privilege of serving this community and 10th District over the years. 2 decades ago, I served as a deputy to a couple of council members that represented 10th District. Now I'm a registered lobbyist. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Teresa Masonette. I represent the West Adams Avenues on the board, the UNNC. I'm a stakeholder.
I'm Colleen. I live in Jefferson Park.
I'm Elvin. I also live in Jefferson Park, very close to Century.
Okay, so Steve, I'm gonna call people in the order I see them. So I'm going to Steve.
Hi, I'm Steve Peckman. I'm a resident of Jefferson Park on 30th Street and a participant in this committee for almost 20 years.
Okay, Daniel.
Hi, I'm Daniel Milner. I'm a resident of Village Green. I've had the pleasure of working with Laura on a couple of occasions, most recently a Sugar Hill discussion and tour that we did here at Village Green. I would call myself a stakeholder adjacent. Village Green is a National Historic Landmark and participant in the Mills Act. And I'm here mostly just to listen to what the presentation is about the Mills Act. I have found Laura's information and oversight extremely valuable. The proposed changes are causing us grave concern and just trying to get informed. And if this is not an appropriate venue for me to hang around, I understand that, but I would really appreciate you guys saying, it's okay, you can listen.
Well, Stephen just put his thumb up. It's okay, you can listen and participate. That's how it works. Just can't vote. Siobhan. You're muted, however.
Oops. Hi, I'm Siobhan. I'm running for the open Region 4 seat.
Marina. If you're still here. And you're muted.
Now I speak. I am a Jefferson Park resident, so I'm a stakeholder.
Thank you. Donna.
Hi, Donna Jones, West Adams Avenues, and I am a stakeholder.
Michael.
Yeah, I'm Michael Kimbrough. I'm a UNNC board member. I also am a resident of the Avenues along with Teresa, and off again, on again, member of the Planning and Zoning Committee as my schedule allows.
Thank you. And the person with a phone number ending in 9481. If you're able to unmute.
Maybe they're choosing not to.
Right, that's fine. Okay, so we have done item one. Are there any general public comments on any item not on tonight's agenda? Teresa.
Thank you, Laura. I just want to remind everybody that UNNC is having its 2025 elections. We were having a meet and greet event for the candidates next
The 20.
the 29th, Saturday the 29th, here at Benny Potter Park, probably outside of the gazebo outside. So please come by if you want to meet the candidates.
What time? Is it 5?
11 to 1.
11 to 1. Okay. Are there any other comments? Well, Teresa, you should have a second. You're launching a new committee.
Oh, yeah.
Well, no, it's not
Okay.
enough.
So when UNNC has reactivated our tree committee, we're having the first meeting next Monday, the 24th. And anybody like to come? We have 3 items on the agenda. It's already posted to the website. We'd be happy to have
Monday
the 24th.
Monday's the 24th.
Okay. So please, you can join in on Zoom or on YouTube, or you can come in person. So.
Okay, Steve.
Hi.
Yeah, I just wanted to say congratulations to UNNC and the other groups that participated in Ciclavia. It's been a while since that happened, but we haven't met as a committee. I thought it was a great success, and people came by the UNNC table, WAHA, and Friends of Jefferson Park HPOZ. We had a lot of contact with the community. It was great.
Okay, and I have this, I don't know if this counts as an announcement, but I'm one of those people who reads Nextdoor every day, even though it's very sad about how many lost dogs there are. But there was a posting for last weekend of a multifamily yard sale because the entire building had been evicted at 1400 South Wilton Place. And it's like, this doesn't sound right to me. So I went out, I went out and talked to them, but also the council office is checking, city council office is gonna be checking in with the housing department, because it appears that there's no project plan, no demolition plan, no building permits pulled. And it sounds like it's gonna be not necessarily something we would all oppose, a TIC, tenants of comment, but they haven't made, instead of making an offer to the existing tenants, which is the normal procedure if it's going condominium. They just simply gave them 3 months notice. And evicted one person just outright. Because she was a roommate of someone who had a mental breakdown. So they said, well, your name's not on the lease. And threw her stuff out in the rain. So it's not a very good situation. I'm following up with the council office to find out more. I don't know if there is anything I would be able to. But
Thank you for doing that, Laura. I think that's really important. So I appreciate it.
Well, I haven't accomplished anything, if you understand my point.
Well,
I mean,
no, you really have. By getting the council office involved is a super big step. And I think it's critical. And this is happening too often across the city. So I appreciate you jumping on it and taking action that you did.
All right, thank you very much. So I hope we'll be able to help them, but I don't know that we can. Okay.
I think we have one more community member.
Yes. Hello, how are you?
Outside, but
Yes,
I wanted
just
to-
introduce yourself.
my name is Young Summers. I live off between Jefferson and Exposition, between Crenshaw and La Brea, close to Crenshaw. So should I tell my problem?
No.
Okay.
No,
Thanks.
thank you. Because we have big agendas.
I know,
Yeah.
that's why. I'm just here.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, if we have time at the.
Yeah, I understand that. Thank you.
Okay, so the next item on our agenda, assuming there are no more public comments, is our case number ZA 2000. I'm gonna read all of this, 2008-2049 CUB PA2. And for people who aren't used to all these strings of numbers and letters, the 2008 indicates the year that this case, the initial case started, although it isn't really accurate because the real initial case seems to have been in 1992. And then the CUB relates to a conditional use permit for alcoholic beverages. PA2 means it's a plan approval and it's number 2. So there was a plan approval number 1 about a decade ago. And the originating case was in 2008. And then what we have on our agenda, so it's going to lead to our very first question. I had copied and pasted. Plan approval to the, well, 2, it should have said 4, existing 24-hour market for the continued sales of full line of alcoholic beverages. Is this a 24-hour market?
That is such an interesting question, and I'm glad you asked that. Under the current PA entitlement approval, we have approval to operate it as a 24 hours.
Yep.
Yeah, we have the option. We choose not to do that,
Got it.
right? So we close at 11 currently, and the alcohol sales cease at 11, but we can operate 24 hours, as you know.
Well, I'm reading. Well, I just was reading.
Yeah, that is absolutely right. Too. It is 24-hour operation. However, it is not operating 24 hours.
So you obviously should reintroduce yourself.
Yes.
And explain what the case is and
Okay.
tell me what I should be putting up on the screen, the application itself, I guess.
The hearing notice?
Well, that's the one thing I didn't.
You didn't, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll explain the,
Okay.
let me just read off should I start?
Yes,
Yeah.
start with a reintroduction.
All right. My name is Steve Kemp, GST Partners, representing the liquor store owner and the property owner, who happens to be the same person. Let me just read off the project address, which is 2115 West Jefferson Boulevard. It's at the northwest corner of Jefferson and Arlington. It's a small strip shopping center, has a Metro PCS liquor store and a chicken establishment. And the proposed project is for an approval of plans to permit the continued sale and dispensing of a full line of alcoholic beverages for off-site consumption with an existing 2,733 square foot market, with the new proposed hours of 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. daily, in lieu of the previously approved hours of 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. daily. And the removal of condition number 16 of case number ZA 2008-2049 CUB PA1, which requires at least one state licensed uniform security guard.
Can I ask a question? Hi, I'm LB. I'd like to ask a question. I think you just read that your request is to open to 2 a.m.
That's what we're proposing.
That's what you're proposing. Okay, just because this one says 1 a.m. So 2 a.m. is the correct number.
Well, I think Ms. Meyer might have, we're engaged with police officers, LAPD, and we're bringing down the hours of operation. Again, 24 hours, we will not do that.
No, I mean,
But there's also on I could have more likely copied and pasted from not that, but from Zena's or case summaries. So some city planner could have written something wrong as well. I mean,
yeah, that's just what I wanted to clarify.
I mean, that's I didn't type.
This piece of paper says 1
Yes,
a.m. The 2 got from somewhere, and you're saying 2. So I just want to be absolutely clear.
Well, let me
I'm
just.
reading off the
Yeah.
official public.
Yeah. She's going to open up the.
Yeah, well, I'm saying whoops because I have to go to the application. Back to Zoom. See, again, I'm not perfect at this. And let's just see what it's actually says. And I think we should let Steve, not Steve Kemp, Steve Kemp, finish his presentation.
Yes.
And
No problem. It's important to have clear information.
How do I raise my hand?
well, it wouldn't matter because I just said we're letting Steve.
I still would like, where's it at, Laura, at the bottom? I can't see.
Okay. I heard what you just said, but right now we're letting Steve Kim finish his.
Okay, but I'd still like to know where the button is, if you could just tell me that.
Okay, why don't you look, I don't know. What's he asking? How does he raise his hand? And that's a good question. Maybe in your case, you might have to look at on your computer something that says more. or reactions, or I don't know. And I'm not,
Okay, I see it. Thank you.
It's about change right here, Laura.
Yeah.
Change use of.
right, but it doesn't say what the hours, so this would probably explain why there's some confusion. It's hard to find it just right there, easy.
Why don't you continue, Steve, while we're.
Thank you. Let me just give you a little background on the establishment. And also a little background on the applicant as well. And also our proposal and action plan for the future use. The Century Liquor, for those of you that lived in the community over decades, it's been there for 35 years. 35 years, the Century Liquor has been in that location. Same owners, Mr. and Mrs. Yoon. 15 years ago, they built that shopping center as we see it today. And they have been part of this community, our community, and obviously they have a vested interest and they're part of the stakeholder in this community. And for a lot of you may know Mr. Steve Yoon, who's been a pillar, certainly this community and then also Korean American community. He was also vice president of Federation of Los Angeles Korean American. Also, he spearheaded and led the Korean American Grocers Association that have protected a lot of liquor stores throughout Los Angeles. I know I'm told by the missus that when this UNNC meeting was held in library somewhere, Mr. Yoon was able to eager to participate. For those of you who may remember, but I was just told that today. But God bless him. Mr. Yoon is no longer with us. He passed 3.5 years ago. Now the wife is trying to carry on his legacy. And the hours of operation, and again, I want to thank Ms. Meyer for reaching out to me. And she has informed me that some of the members of the community has concern about our application, number one. And number two, I wanted to be here physically instead of Zooming with you all to make sure I show my face and we're committed to addressing any of the issues you may have. So Mr. and Mrs. Yoon came here about 40 years ago, with American Dream, like most of us immigrants do. Came with $300 in his pocket. He has built himself a great business. Now he's part of this community and is very proud of it, or she rather, Mrs. Yoon. The economy has been hard hit. A lot of business in the city of LA. And one of the reasons for asking for the security guards to be removed is very cost prohibitive, and it's been detrimental to her business. Now the LAPD officers do frequent the liquor store quite a bit, and according to LAPD on the Packamus report, which I don't know if they still call it Packamus, but Packamus is back in the days where they track all the service calls that comes from the premise. They may call it something else. Nearly zero service call. I'm going to have the official report before our hearing next week. So I'll provide that to the neighbor council as well. So all in all, it's economics, right? Again, they've been here 35 years. They've been part of this community, and they're very proud of that, and they want to continue to be part of this community. So we're simply asking for the hours of operation to be extended, and we're certainly willing to give up the 24-hour operation. I mean, they don't feel the need to do 24-hour operation. Again, you understand the community. You're in here. They've been closing at 11 o'clock every night. So we'd like to extend the hours of operation. And the security guard is pure economics. They're charging $40, $50 an hour, and they have to be employed. And for a small business like that to survive, it's really it's been difficult. So With that, I'd love to address any concerns or issues you may have.
So what on the hearing notice, so what does it say the request for hours? Is it 1 AM or 2 AM?
2 a.m.
Hearing notice.
Correct.
So it must be that on the ZMIS or the case summaries page, it must say 1 AM. Because it doesn't say anything on the application.
Technical error, but this is
Easily discoverable. Why technical error? Because the application doesn't reference it at all. We just looked. So that's
But now we know.
now we know.
They're
So
asking to
there's
stay over till 2.
Okay, so I've got Steve, I've got Michael, and then LB, did you still have questions?
No, I just want to put that.
So Steve, then Michael, Steve Peckman, then Michael.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Mr. Kim. My condolences to the Yoon family about Mr. Yoon's passing. I was very sorry to hear that. This is really not an issue of economics for the community, but an issue of public safety. Laura, could you share screen, please, so I could put something up?
Oh, you mean give you,
Yeah,
yes, you mean not, I'm not sharing the screen. You're give you hosting.
yeah. Allow me to.
Yes, I can do that.
Thank you. So the issue of public safety, and I think this has been clear since the beginning, at least since the 2009-2010 ZA hearing, is that this is an issue of public safety, both the operating hours and the requirement for the security guard. Both of these were something that the community worked very hard to put in place. And the community feels that this is one of the reasons why you don't have the service calls that you claim you don't have, and why the facility may actually be safer than many other liquor stores in the greater West Adams neighborhood. Now, let me see if I could share. Here we go. Let me share my screen. Here we go. So what I'd like to show here are some of the sensitive uses within 1,000 feet of Century Liquor in the neighborhood. So here's where Century Liquor is. You can see Jefferson Boulevard going east to west. Arlington is here, and here's 4th Avenue. Here are the sensitive uses. So we have at least 3 different churches. We have a park, we have a library, we have infant daycare, we have a preschool. There are all these different sensitive uses within the adjacency within 500 feet of the liquor store. And it's important that the community feels safe with our neighbor, Century Liquor. There have been issues regarding people drinking in the park, and there have been issues about drug use on Prescott Court and potential alcohol use there. So it's not that the area is without issues, and the community, again, I'll reinforce this, feels that the security guard actually helps to keep the area safer than it would be otherwise, as is the hours of alcohol sales at Century Liquor. So for the neighbors that I've spoken with, which are quite a few, I have over 200 people on an email listserv, and the responses I've received from people are that the current requirements should stay in place. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can you unshare the screen?
Yeah.
Thank you. Michael, you had your hand up? Or
Yeah, I
have
did. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just a little confused and I'm asking for some clarification. I'm understanding from the gentleman, I don't remember your name, I'm sorry.
Steve.
Steve, I'm trying to understand that you were granted 24 hours of operation. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I have difficulty.
Yeah, 24 hours. He said that you were granted 24 hours. Yes, the initial conditional use was for 24
But
hours.
you've chosen
We
to.
currently have option to open 24 hours.
So
Yes.
then if you have the option to be open 24 hours, why do you need approval to extend the hours of operation you already have?
I'll answer that.
Okay.
Very good question. The extension of hours would be the alcohol sales. We're extending the hours of operation to allow the sale of alcohol.
Okay,
Right?
okay,
11
that's fine.
a.m.
So that's fine. So I just wanted to understand. So the 11 o'clock end of your alcohol sales right now, you're asking to extend to 2 a.m., yes?
Correct.
Okay. And in lieu of the 3-hour extension, you're asking us to allow you to waive the security guard after 11 until 2?
Waive right now, Mr. Packman alluded to the economics it may not be an issue, but it's $440 every day for having security guard from noon to 11 p.m. per day, and that equates to $13,200 per month.
Okay, economics aside, I'm just trying to understand, are you trying to have us allow to get us to alleviate the security guard entirely or only for the 3-hour extension from 11 to 2?
No, entirely, Michael.
Okay, that's fine. So
They're asking for no security guard.
I understand. So my concern is the impending development at the northeast corner that looks like it's going to go through an additional, 80 units of more or less single room occupancy that would have the ability to consume alcohol at your location from 11 to 2 a.m. And the new, and there's a museum that we're considering allowing to be an event space that only wants to serve beer and wine, would make it very easy to go to your location and drink off-site and then participate in the event space. Am I wrong about that?
Well, he doesn't have control over the
No, I
event.
understand, but that is a possibility of future. Yes?
Well, Michael, I'm gonna weigh in. I think knowing some of my own friends, when sometimes they go to places that only have beer and wine and they bring flasks with vodka, I don't think it's a good idea, but I just know the behavior of people who like to party. So I don't know that we can point a finger at a particular.
I'm not pointing a finger. I'm just speculating that we could have that possibility in the near future if we grant this.
I think Michael raises an important point, which is alcohol delivery adjacency. The museum and the Century Liquor are very close together, and both will be providing alcohol.
Correct.
Yeah,
But
no, what he's
remember,
saying is that people will come to the liquor store and then
Hang on.
go to the event space.
yeah,
after
so.
they get your liquor.
So among the conditions that exist for the sales of alcohol at this site, and I see Colleen's hand, is already that they can't be selling cups, they can't be selling ice, and they can't be selling small bottles. They have to do full size. And that they're not asking to get rid of that one. Colleen.
This is Colleen. I live on the other side of the alley from Century Lick and from the museum. And I can tell you that the alley is a nightmare. I have been victimized and continue to be victimized regularly by the people who live in the alley and drink liquor and use drugs all day and all night. The economic arguments fall on deaf ears for me. I am personally out of pocket many tens of thousands of dollars as a result of repairs I have made to my property as a result of vandalism, and fires based on people drinking alcohol and using drugs in the alley. Is there a causal relationship between Century Lick and those people who have victimized me? I can't say that there is, but staying open from 11 p.m. until 2 a.m., selling alcohol and no security guard will exacerbate the danger that I am in on a daily basis in my home. I do not have the quiet enjoyment of my home as a result of what is happening in the alley. And what happens in the liquor store exacerbates what happens in the alley.
I'm sorry to hear that you got victimized.
It's ongoing. I spend many hours and I pay people to clean the alley of all of the liquor bottles that are in the alley. So I'll just say it very clearly, I strongly oppose extending the hours of liquor sales, and I strongly oppose removing the security guard. If it is not economical for the families to continue operating, I think it would be wonderful for them to sell their business to perhaps someone who would run a business that was contributing to the community, because selling liquor and chips is not contributing to the
Sell the
community.
business to someone else so the new owner could sell alcohol? I don't get it.
They could perhaps do something else with that space.
They've been here for 35 years, probably
Okay.
longer than you live, so 35 years. They've been part of our community. So for them, for people to ask them to move the hell out of it, that's.
Okay, hang on, we're not gonna.
No, I understand. Again,
Meeting, like, what we talked to us back and forth.
gotcha.
Right, so comment and then a different comment, but not staring at each one.
No, it's not big push.
Yeah, and hello, Marius, we have a new person in the room. Well, I guess what I want to say is, because I have a troubled liquor store on my corner as well. And many years ago, the 11 p.m. was imposed. And, you know, they don't have security guards, but they do have the 11 p.m. And it's actually really good that they close at 11 p.m. for the neighbors, because in fact, you know, I'm about 550 feet away, which out the length of time it takes to drink a little bottle of this. So I do have the small bottles in my front yard every once in a while, and it used to be a lot more often. But the fencing of as well. So the liquor store on my corner also has a fence with gates that close at 11. Is really very useful, and they've been good neighbors after they were not good neighbors. So in terms of a security guard, it does sound really expensive to be $13,000 a month. I also don't know if there's, you know, for the neighbors, I don't live in your neighborhood. I don't know if there's a compromise where maybe a security guard from noon to 4 is not that important, but maybe in the nighttime it's more important. I don't know though, because I don't live there. LB, and then Steve.
Okay, just to be clear, they haven't asked for a change of hours.
They've asked to have no security
security
guard, but I
So-
don't know what your response would be if there's a compromise in order or not. And I'm not suggesting there needs to be, I'm just asking a question.
But then if I'm for again, I'd say, you know, I agree with what we've heard from the neighbors already. I'm also right around the corner on 31st Street. The other neighbors I know there, nobody wants to see that liquor store operate without a security guard. I think the security guard is the only thing that keeps it from getting worse. And we do get, you know, even on the street, you know, I find liquor bottles in my bushes pretty often. I know there's people up and down the street at night who are, you know, going to that liquor store and getting alcohol, and it can't be good. I certainly don't want to see it go to 2 a.m. I absolutely don't want to see it without a security guard. I just think that would be going in a wrong direction for sure.
Steve Peckman has his hand up a second time.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion.
Oh, well, then I actually, I want to just make sure there's nothing else that people want to say.
Well, but people will have opportunity for more discussion after the motion.
All right, make the motion.
So I would like to make a motion that the Planning and Zoning Committee strongly recommend to the UNNC Governing Board to maintain the current requirements and oppose Mrs. Youm's request for relief on these two conditions based on the serious concerns of the surrounding community regarding public safety and the sensitive uses that surround this liquor store. And that the UNNC contact the Councilperson Hutt's office and strongly ask for her support of the community on this issue.
I second.
All right, thank you. It's been moved and seconded.
Did Donna Jones second, just,
Yes. So we can continue discussion. So I do want to clarify for everybody here. There, at the public hearing, which is next week, it precedes our governing board meeting. And this committee, so this recommendation goes to the governing board. But for the hearing itself, I pretty much have to present the same letter that was presented in 2009, which essentially says they want the security guard and the limited hours. And that I will need to tell the hearing officer that UNNC does not meet again until April 3rd. And so the first reasonable day we could get a letter to the zoning administrator would be Monday, April 7th.
Could we ask the ZA
Not
at the
really
hearing?
reasonable. I'm just saying not.
Could we
yes,
ask, Laura, could we ask the ZA at the hearing to keep the file open
Yes,
in order to allow the governing board an opportunity to opine on this?
yes, I'm saying, so that's what, I would have to do that, because otherwise the only letter I can submit is the one from in other words, our opinion hasn't sunsetted.
So that's a subcomponent of my motion.
After the
Great.
board meeting, I'm just saying.
We get it.
Yeah.
So as a subcomponent of my motion, I request that when you go to the ZA hearing, that you ask the ZA to keep the file open in order to allow the governing board an opportunity to opine. And I hope
Yeah.
Donna accepts that amendment.
You didn't need to make that motion.
That would happen anyway.
I do. I do.
Okay, fine.
All right, so can we call the vote?
Oh, do we want to call the vote? Well, you call the question. So did Steve get an opportunity?
Well, Steve, where do you live?
No, he can't vote.
Oh,
He can't vote. Does he get an opportunity to respond?
oh, yeah, certainly. Oh, yeah.
I feel the consensus. I mean, you guys are in opposition and it won't do nothing. But I thank you for the opportunity. I think there's a open process, right? Through a product way. Everybody has an opinion, and certainly business community has certainly right to be in this community and operate and abide by the law, which they have been doing for a very long time. Again, 35 years they've been part of our community here. So we're very proud to be part of this community. So thank you for the opportunity to listen to all your concerns, and we'll try to address it from now until next Tuesday.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So we don't walk out yet because I'm taking a vote.
Well, vote.
No, I understand.
I already know the vote.
Okay, but let's,
Thank you.
okay, I would. Let's vote.
If you feel there's a consensus, we don't have to vote, Laura, but do you want to vote? I feel like we should.
I would like to be on record with a vote.
Yes,
Okay.
but I would like, normally I would like there to be a vote, so I'm going to say all in favor. Either raise your digital hand, or if you are showing us your living space, raise your real hand. Either way, and. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3, you can't vote,
I'm gonna abstain.
okay. So 1, 2, and then on the screen, 3, 4, 5. And I can't see who they are. Okay. 6.
6 to 1.
Did the phone number vote or Marius vote?
No, the phone number didn't vote and Marius did not vote. And I did not vote at the moment, and Teresa has not voted.
No, I'm
So-
going to abstain.
Correct.
And
Then it's your vote.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So is
I
everybody-
am voting in the affirmative. I just stepped away for a second, so I couldn't get to the computer, but yes, I am voting.
That was 7, so I've got 6 on the screen, 8, 7, 8. Voted in favor of the motion, 1 abstention, and the chair did not vote, not abstain. She, the chair, did not vote. And we also have 1 person in attendance who's not a stakeholder, and I don't know who the phone number is, so that person didn't vote. Can you take your hands down just in case? our caller wants to vote no. And everyone who's got their hands up, take your hands down. Okay, and then this is a time for any no votes. Okay, motion obviously passes. Thank you.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you.
Good night.
All right, so now we're moving on to the item on the Mills Act, Historical Properties Contract Program. So UNNC weighed in on an initial proposal on this a couple years ago. And this is something that's been working its way through the system. So basically, the Mills Act Historical Contracts Program has approximately 950 participants, participating contracts across Los Angeles. Some of those contracts might be for entire complexes, so it might reflect 25, might reflect 80, might reflect 7. So I don't know how many individual households, okay, but it's not thousands and thousands. And the planning department has found itself, in their view, with increasing difficulties of staffing it because it's so time consuming. So in 2021, 2022, they hired a consultant to do a report about, gee, how can we fix the program? And when it was presented in 2022, it was met with a lot of, I don't want to say just opposition, but in parsing through the numbers, it was when you really read it, it was illogical. That there were ways, is that a nice way to say it? Okay. There were ways to reduce the time consumption on the part of staff that they're not considering. And but what they were considering is canceling all the old contracts and changing the program set so that it would only be 20 years instead of in perpetuity. They were also proposing that it should revert to only being for areas that were low opportunities, or not only, but primarily focused on.
Can we just bring up the recommendations, Laura?
Well, I was gonna first bring up a couple of other things. I'm gonna bring.
Okay.
So,
because I don't know if it's important to hear what they weren't going to do.
well, they haven't really, so they got a lot of opposition, and what we're sort of sent, oh, I don't have any of
have
that.
those, you don't have any of that. So,
Right.
do you want me to do it while you continue to talk?
Yeah, so,
Okay.
because there's something called an opportunity map.
Yes, I thought you
Should
said.
go on, yeah. So essentially they got a lot of opposition, and the director gave a report to the Cultural Heritage Commission saying, we received a lot of thoughtful letters that showed us that we needed to think more thoroughly about this, and we really appreciated getting this information, and it seemed right. But then they went to city council about 6 months later with the same recommendations they had started with. So they bypassed the Cultural Heritage Commission and started over with the same report to city council. So their current round of recommendations are not that different. But what's interesting is they are saying they're still saying they're gonna focus on areas with low opportunity. So, and they're using a state map instead of the city controller's map for identifying those areas. So it turns out, here's the UNNC, if everyone can see this map. This is more or less the UNNC area, and it's a light green. And if you went back up a little, Teresa, we're a low resource area. The light green represents low resource area. And then if you keep going down to the next page. So this is a bigger map. And Daniel, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were coming, so I didn't take it all the way down to Village Green because I had no idea. But this is the bigger map of our broader neighborhood. So from, the 110 freeway to past Crenshaw. And so much of it is this low opportunity area. And the things with all the zigzag, the cross marks are high poverty and segregated areas.
So can you explain what low
Low,
resource.
well, I can say that what they're saying in their new report is that they're gonna try and not cancel. But I don't know how you try and not cancel contracts in one area and then you cancel contracts in others.
So what they're saying is that this area where we have these
Well, the cross marks are even worse. They're low resource and high poverty and segregated.
Right, but they are not going to try to cancel those contracts.
Steve, you wanna weigh in here, because you know my feeling on it. I feel they're gonna try and I think they're gonna try and cancel all the old contracts, even though they're saying they're not. Because they said they weren't gonna cancel any contracts, and now they're still saying they are gonna cancel contracts.
I think they're leaning towards cancellations across the board from from my reading of the document. And I think they're also trying to dispose of the preservation component of the Mills Act, which is probably the most important aspect of this. Now, I need to say on the onset that I'm a property owner of Mills Act property, so I have a conflict of interest here. But it's very clear to me that the document indicates that preservation should no longer be a part of Mills Act. It should only be rehabilitation. Where the whole principle behind the state law for Mills Act is focused on preservation.
Well,
So
and
I think there are fundamental flaws. To cut to the chase, though, I think there are good things in this document. In fact, I was shocked by elements of this document that the city isn't currently collecting all the data they say they want to collect about Mills Act, right? Which is totally absurd. They should be collecting all those data. But I think that to collect the data doesn't mean that you have to start eliminating Mills Act properties and start charging people inordinate prices for having a Mills Act property. That's a disincentive to having a Mills Act property. So I think a lot of what their city is proposing is, what do they call it? Give with one hand, take away with the other. And what they're trying to take away is pretty serious. So if their interest is in focusing on lower resource neighborhoods by essentially taxing them for having a Mills Act property and trying to not only rehabilitate it, but preserve it over decades, I think is absolutely the wrong way to go.
Right, so what about the compliance, because I did see that, there seems to be a lot of,
they are reporting substantial non-compliance.
Yeah, but they're not.
And I have no problem with them trying to figure out who's in non-compliance and encourage them and get them into compliance or drop them if they're refusing to be in compliance. Right. But that's also a minority of the properties in the Mills Act plan.
Right, but also, so I have a Mills Act as well, so when we get to governing board, I'm not participating. But just by way of personal example, they had for this year scheduled, without me knowing, just arbitrarily picked a date to schedule an inspection. Happened to be a date that I had a medical appointment. I said, I can't do it. And got a threatening email back saying, we're going to put you in non-compliance. So, and I said, well, you inspected me already 6 times, which is, I think, far more than you inspected most of the other ones. From what I understand. So, Steve, how many times have you been inspected?
We've been inspected twice, I think.
Yeah, so 6 is
once,
a lot.
Marina corrected me, it's once.
Do you think that they're
meaning there's not a rule of thumb? I mean, what puts you in non-compliance?
Well, I'm sure they have a list of if the roof isn't up to date or there are different elements.
I'm saying I got a threat based on not being available.
Right.
In these couple of,
There are a lot of things in this document that could be resolved pretty easily at low cost, right? It's my understanding that OHR has a robust training program for interns who could be utilized to help support the Mills Act inspections. They could have a more robust checklist and self-report with narrative explanations that could be filed that then don't require on-site inspections. I mean, there are many, many methodologies that could be used to tighten and improve the program, which I have no problem with the city doing that. What I have a problem with is the city penalizing people who are trying to uphold Mills Act standards by essentially fining them for having a Mills Act property. It just doesn't make any sense. and they justify it by saying, well, they're getting a tax break. But the justification for the tax break is to help preserve and rehabilitate the property to keep it Mills Act compliant. So they're saying we're going to help you save money through property taxes, but then we're going to take it away from you in order to inspect you, so you have limited resources to actually preserve the property according to the standards. This is really bad city planning. It's really bad interaction with the public, and it is a disincentive to preserve historic buildings.
Well, if I could just, I think many of those comments that you just made, Steve, were in our letter. When
Yes.
That is correct. So the thing that we didn't address in the letter are the additional fees. But I'm sort of adding on to what Steve said. The other problem with the program, which they are reporting in this updated, is that over time, people lose their tax breaks. And that's happening more and more as rents have increased so dramatically. They know that that's the cause because the way the state law is written, the valuation that the assessor places on a Mills Act property is based on the hypothetical fair market rent that the property could earn if it wasn't owner occupied. So that in other words, if it was rented to another family. So as those rents have gone way up, the tax savings ends up going down because the valuations are getting higher and higher. The city has also done nothing. I mean, you sent me a thing where they have they create a list of things they want to lobby the state with. It's a category with here's things to lobby the state with. Well, for years we historic consultants, not just people with Mills Act, have been asking the city to lobby the state to change the valuation process in the state law so that the tax incentives actually could be just put into law. 20% or 30%.
Council, all of those motions that lobby the state are initiated through a council.
But what I'm saying is the planning department itself has been asked to ask the city council, and that is not, they have not been working with the assessor, they have not been working to figure out a different way of doing the assessment so that when somebody applies for the Mills Act facing all these big fees, because today when you apply, unlike when some of us applied, there's a lot of upfront fees. So you're spending thousands of dollars to get your Mills Act, and all the people who are applying today for Mills Act also are in their contract paying inspection fees for every 5 years. So that's all in their contracts. It's a very expensive program with no guarantee that they'll have tax savings even the first year, and certainly not in year 8 or 9. With things the city doesn't have control over, i.e. rising rents. And I see Steve has his hands up one more time. The other thing they're proposing is for the old contracts they're keeping, as opposed to the old contracts they're dumping, asking the city attorney to figure out how they can rewrite the contracts to impose the fees for people whose contracts don't allow fees. And it's like, that doesn't seem right. I mean, it doesn't seem equitable that some people pay fees and some people don't, but it also doesn't seem right, legally right, to one side change a contract. I don't know. Steve?
So just to add on that, I'd like to say that the city hired these consultants, right? But as far as I know, the consultants never interviewed the constituent community, which is the people who have Mills Act properties. And so actually the community the city is charged to serve through this Mills Act process is not a part of the process at all, and could actually have a lot to contribute in terms of how to improve the program and make it more cost effective for the city to run it. So I think the whole process has been fundamentally flawed from the get-go because the users aren't involved. We're actually excluded.
There was no community outreach.
None that I'm aware of.
Well, it's interesting. There was no community outreach at the first round. And one of the things that the director said to Cultural Heritage Commission when he gave his report is like, one lesson we learned is we need to do community outreach. But I don't think they've done community outreach yet, but they do have a Zoom meeting scheduled for April 28th.
I have not been informed of any
I
Zoom
think,
meeting.
well, they definitely have a Cultural Heritage Commission, and I think they have a webinar too, but I think it's in the, I don't know.
But
Might have
the
been
point is, they need
email.
to reach out to the Mills Act constituents themselves and not just make their standard announcement at some coffee shop somewhere and on their website. It needs to be a proactive endeavor by the part of city planning to engage the Mills Act property owners who are the people they're supposed to be serving. It just doesn't make any sense.
Right. Donna has her hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to say my neighbor Stacy, who you know, Laura,
Correct.
she had an inspection by a team member that they had hired.
Yeah,
that
oh,
actually
an
worked-
outside consultant, yeah.
Yes, that actually worked for one of the companies that does work
Mhm.
on Mills Act properties. So it's like they're drumming up opportunities to do additional work on your property. They added things that weren't even a part of
Right.
what was found originally. She had to go to Lambert about it because this group worked for the company. So
Yeah.
that sounds sketchy.
Well, her situation was a little different than most because the person who had originally applied for the Mills Act and then sold her the house years later had done nothing, unfortunately. So Stacy inherited a house that was non-compliant for the, I mean, clearly because there was a list of things. So she found herself having to do that, and then they added more things. So that is the other thing that's been happening, that they keep adding things to people's lists, even though the contracts are contracts with a rehab list. But as time goes on, perhaps there are things that should be added. So,
But the point Donna makes shouldn't be ignored, which is
I'm
that
not
it's a
ignoring
horrible
it. I'm saying
conflict.
it's
It's a
difficult.
horrible conflict of interest for the city to hire people to do inspections who are actually building repair vendors trying to drum up business. If that is true, that's the worst form of opportunism and conflict of interest.
Yeah, I don't think that's entirely true. They're hiring the companies they're hiring to do these inspections are the historic consulting companies who also are consultants on EIRs and things like that. I am not sure what makes them qualified to do Mills Act inspections. I mean, it's almost the opposite. I'd almost prefer that they use some building trades for some of these inspections because they might be more realistic and practical.
That was exactly Stacy's argument. The person who did the inspection or added to the inspection had no real experience, was very new in the area, and worked for one of the companies. So I just wanted to make sure I said that.
Right. Well, I think I'm sorry, I'm a little memory limited. I'm sorry, because there were so many different entities and people who were weighing in. So I don't remember if this was UNNC's idea or somebody else's idea, but one of the big ideas was stop hiring these expensive outside consultants, your money, and instead have an annual report. I think that was in our UNNC letter, have an annual report by each homeowner, each Mills Act property owner, every single one, report annually on a specified form, what they did that year, I mean, whatever that, and then use the interns, just use staff that exists. They're asking in this new update for money to hire more staff. That's not gonna happen because the city is broke. So again, this is gonna be another boondoggle because the city doesn't have the money to do the program the way they want to do it. But they don't have to do the program that way. They could do the program in a way that's more cost efficient. And might be more work for staff, but I'm not sure. Sort of like, you don't care what it's gonna cost in money for a liquor store. I don't care what it's gonna cost in time for an existing employee because they got a job, lucky them. because other people don't.
So what is the, are we to put forth a motion to comment on this secondary
Well,
letter?
What, I'm not sure what we should be doing. Steve, did you thoroughly digest the previous letter?
No, because I just read it this afternoon.
Yeah,
But I do, to respond to the question, I would like to say that, to Teresa's question, that I think UNNC should definitely weigh in on this.
yes, but my
Again, I have a
question is,
conflict of interest, but
Yeah.
I would definitely like to see UNNC weigh in on this.
I don't remember who wrote the UNNC letter. It was not me, because I would be deemed to have a conflict as well.
Who signed it?
That's a good question.
But maybe John.
I think John wrote it. Let's see who signed it, because it might have been Greg or whoever was president at the time. John and Paula.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
And I think we also have to liaise with the CD10 office and get them in line to help support this, since Heather's going to have a vote.
Correct. Well, she should have a big vote because she probably represents 20 to 30% of the Mills Act. Well, property owners, frankly.
In one of the most under-resourced areas in the city.
Well, not all of her CD10 is in the under-resourced areas. Our UNNC is one of the most under-resourced, but that's, when I looked at the bigger map, I just shared, shared our portion. But I'm concerned. I mean, I think they should be, in terms of thinking about who to cancel, be looking at who's in a high resource, who's in a low resource, because all the cancellations are senior citizens. Let me just say, when this program was begun, the actual beginning of the program, in part, was to help senior citizens keep their historic homes and be able to afford them with the tax incentives. So those people are long gone, but the original people like myself who got Mills Act are now the senior citizens, and it's the same idea. I don't think if you're a senior citizen in Lafayette Square, you should be treated differently than a senior citizen in Burlington Heights, but on the map, you'd be treated differently. I feel this notion of canceling contracts doesn't really help them because they're talking about adding contracts after they cancel contracts, so they still have the same work. I don't know. So this prior, I don't, so what do you guys think? I'm sort of scrolling slowly through this. I don't know if you guys can see this. It's very complicated letter. Do we want to write a second very complicated letter that we can't write tonight? Sitting here, we can't write a letter. And ask John to update this letter. Somebody who's not conflicted out to update this letter.
Since John's not here, I'm happy to second the idea of asking him, but can't we just augment this letter with the new items?
Yeah, no, I understand that, but it still can't be my signature on it.
Right.
And
Right.
Just John.
Yeah, I think we need to go back to John.
I mean, we could do the work, but it can go back to John.
Right.
I think a new letter with this letter as an attachment saying all these things in that other letter still are a concern, and we have these additional concerns.
Okay.
It would make
And
writing the
maybe-
new
and
letter
maybe a few-
easier.
And maybe a thank you or two, just in case. I mean, it's always nice to have the honey with the.
Do we know when it's going to council?
It's going to Cultural Heritage Commission on their second,
28th or
the 24th.
April 20th.
April 24th. So, and this letter had been previously submitted as a resolution. An update should go as a resolution that would allow UNNC to have a couple extra minutes, but then we also need someone who's not me to be at.
It's gonna have to be John. I mean, I could
Yeah.
do it, but I'm not as versed on the Mills Act.
I know, I understand.
Yeah.
So you are smart. But steady.
Okay, if John can't do it, then who else is on the call that could do it?
Okay, I'm gonna stop this share.
So I think that having it sent to both the Cultural Heritage Commission and in time for the council meeting would be important
Yeah,
to
the
weigh in
council
for the
meeting-
commission.
Yeah, the council meeting is gonna be way down the road, I would think, because.
Okay, so we're talking about
at commission again, I'm sure.
So it'd be good to have it for the commission.
Yeah, so that means it has to go on April 3rd. So our motion tonight would, well, here's the thing, April 2nd is P and Z again. So I guess what we need to do is figure out what the updated letter would be and bring it to a meeting on April 2nd. And then governing board April 3rd.
Steve, would you mind sending some of your suggestions to Laura and she can put together a letter, or do you want to put together the letter?
Well,
I'm happy to send my suggestions to her. I don't think I can draft a letter since I have a conflict of interest.
yeah, so then, yes, all of we have other board members who also have Bill's Act. So in other words, this is gonna be a difficult one.
Right. But your comments and Laura's comments can go to John Arnold.
Correct.
And John can write the letter.
Great.
Right.
All right.
And because we definitely have other board members with Mills Act, so we're gonna have to be careful. Well, Chris, I think maybe Ed.
Okay. Okay.
And possibly Michael, I don't know.
Michael Kim?
No, other Michael.
Oh, Michael.
Soderstrom, I can't remember.
Okay, so so we don't need to do a motion, we will just.
We'll
come back
have
on April
another
2nd.
agenda item on the second.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you, that was a great point, Steve, and I really would like, Daniel has his hand up.
Daniel. Yeah, and you're muted and yes, you'd be welcome to weigh.
Thank you. I will be brief. I just want to let you folks know how inspirational and insightful this conversation has been. Village Green, we are a condo complex that we participate as the entire condo complex. We signed our MillScat contract in 2010, and we have 629 units. We are the single largest by way of units of Mills Act contract. It's one contract with 629 units involved. That's the single largest contract within the Mills Act. We have about 1,300 people. We definitely want to work with whoever we can work with to share voices. And I'll share that everything that you have said aligns with what I am thinking and experienced, and also generally the board. We do not have that conflict of interest because our board, we just have a different structure. So I dropped my email into the chat. Whoever, and Laura, you have my email.
I do.
Please, if you additional meetings, etc. It's really, really helpful. This hit my inbox as it hit all of our inboxes like 3 or 4 days ago or whatever. And it's like, what? It seems like they didn't listen to us before. Like you're saying the same thing you said 3 years ago. Come on, people, did you listen to us? But let me refrain from getting on a horse that way and just say, thank you very much. We want to work with you over here and keep us informed, and we will do the same with you.
So Daniel, one of the real active members of our community recently relocated to Village Green, Audrey Arlington.
I hope she won't mind, but she was the one that tipped me off to this meeting. Audrey, friend, she lives pretty close to where my wife and I live. And she's a great new neighbor and a great resource. So thank you. And I'll let her know that Steve said hello.
Okay, all right, so on that note, do we have any follow-up to previous cases? ENS, old business that we need to discuss? I'm actually surprised, it's only 8:13. I thought we'd be here till 9. But then again, I'm glad we're not trying to write a letter in a Zoom meeting. So anyway, is there any other?
I think we have a guest with some questions sitting next to you.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Here we go. Yes.
I have a question. Is Village Green belongs to this?
No.
So what is mine? I mean, I'm trying to figure out.
You're in the West, you're in West Adams Neighborhood Council, I think.
Right, but I mean, I live on Jefferson, between Jefferson and Expedition.
Right.
And
I think you're in the West Adams Neighborhood Council.
yeah, that's where I am. I mean, I know, but.
Right.
Where's the?
Yeah, that's West End.
But then Daniel,
What is the number?
so do you know what your neighborhood council is? I think it's not West Adams.
It's like East West. It's got some weird acronym. ECWA, yeah.
Yeah.
Empowerment Congress West. Might be.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So there's not gonna be, they're not gonna have much reason to have advocacy on the Mills Act, because probably all they have is Village Green. Yeah.
I have yet to do that research, and I hope to figure out how that might be part of the mix. But I do think that Heather Hutt's office is the way to sort of streamline it up to Heather Hutt's office is the way to go. She shows, there's the Obama complex over on our road on Obama Boulevard, and she shows up there every once in a while. Kimani Black is now her chief of staff. He used to be our area rep under Herb Wesson. So she knows of us. I know that much.
Right, so
by the number, what's a neighborhood, what number is that? I was looking at the information, where I belong.
yeah,
It would ask what number, I don't know,
Well,
10 or
You have
11.
your address in Zenith.
It's like outside the like a boundary line, when I look at the map.
If you look up your address in Zenith, you can look at the parcel profile report, and that will tell you what neighborhood council.
So you're in Council District 10,
Right.
right, and West Adams is the neighborhood council.
Right.
So when you say number, you mean phone number? What-
Yeah, I know, like a District 10, right? But I mean, it's like a neighborhood number.
well, but,
Council,
okay, you're the neighborhood council that Mika is on the land use committee of.
right,
So she would know all the other people for you to contact for your neighborhood council.
yeah, I know, I was talking, but I mean, when I was trying to log in here or something, be like in the email,
Oh, you're trying to get on our email list.
Right, I have a
Oh.
question, where
Yeah,
do you-
here,
I had to check something, but.
oh, and see.org. You just go to that, and then it says sign up.
I did.
And then you're getting our email.
Right,
Oh,
I mean, I didn't get yet, but I mean, I did.
All right. Oh, yeah, if you signed up yesterday, you're not gonna, and because the last email was like 4 days.
Yeah,
So, okay, all right. So the problem I know that you have is a gigantic building going up next to your
right.
property.
How can I stop it?
In the middle of a block.
I mean, it's only like a 40 feet wide, this lot.
We have had no success at stopping these projects.
I mean, I was at the West Adams neighborhood, meeting on Zoom and talked with Brian, right? He said that when I said I'm still looking for ways to stop this development next door, I don't think we can stop it.
Yeah.
So then he said that maybe one way is like to appeal to Hakim. Hakim is the guy.
Yeah, but
Somebody so I don't know, I asked him, how can I appeal to him, what should I do? And he said he's gonna send me some contact number or something, but I haven't received it from him, so I haven't bothered him yet.
So Hakeem Park Davis is the planning deputy for Heather Hutt for Council District 10. So whoever this guy Brian is,
He was like a
with the name, he's like us.
well, maybe he should write a letter.
he told me no. I mean, like he was almost like so pessimistic about this.
Well, we're all kind of pessimistic.
I mean, so like it's like a
It's become unfortunate. We're having to identify only a few things that might be fightable. Because so many of these new projects are allowed by right under all the new state laws.
that's what architect told me,
Yeah.
and so we are doing everything by legally, right?
Yeah.
But my thing is like when they pass the law, I mean, neighbors who didn't know, they changed from R1 to R3, I mean, they're all like sleeping, right? I said, oh, I didn't know they can build this thing. It's such a narrow street too. It's so shaky. I mean, it's like almost like this, the parking. I didn't even bother to cross city because my sidewalks all like this and streets parking. I mean, I did in the past, but it's like I'm stressed out.
Yeah.
So and then they want to come dig next to my driveway is already cracking. I mean, like 2 feet away for like 3-story high building and 2-story building the back. I mean, 40 feet wide.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I'm so scared. I mean, like living in the tiny house.
Right. I know, we're just like, don't know what we can do.
I'm here like maybe somebody knows a pro bono lawyer, you know, he can say, I mean, honestly, to stop it. Just, so my house is going to be shaky. I mean, I don't know if I can live there. It's going to really disturb the whole neighborhood. Like we have tiny houses, not even wide,
Yeah,
and no parking already, right? So congested, no room for the trash cans.
right. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little nervous because we're not plugged in here, you know, it says 44%, the battery is really showing as much less.
Okay.
So,
So I don't know.
we don't
have an answer because the state has allowed, unless it's a historic area, allowed for these developments to come in because we are supposedly in need of affordable housing.
So they're not going to be able for the, they already
Well,
displayed like a 6.
well, because we'll say it a
More
different
housing.
way. The idea is that if more housing is built, affordable. I don't think that's a realistic idea, but that's the idea behind.
I know
Policy
exactly,
idea behind
right.
this, yeah,
But they are coming from outside, they're not.
right,
So,
right. I'm gonna need to adjourn the meeting because I'm afraid the computer will adjourn it.
It's not, we're good, we have 40%, we're good. So thank you very much for everybody. I agree with Laura, since we don't have any other, was there, follow-up to old business?
Yeah, nobody brought any
Okay.
follow-up, so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
Bye. I'm gonna.